So Wales 9, France 13. France keep their Grand Slam hopes alive. Wales with a titanic effort, to be honest, but not enough punch to win. It was tense, it was tight, it wasn't beautiful, but it was exactly the sort of game that Wales needed to make it. But, like I said, they just don't have enough in attack. We had Faletau, we had Cuthbert looking pretty good, but overall, not enough weapons, and the French defence could just push them back, and Wales couldn't get over the line. France, they were essentially very good for 20 minutes, and then tactically rubbish for 60, but their big defence kept them in it, and they sneak it, which actually is what I predicted in my prediction video, a tight win to France. So I kind of got what I expected, but it was a lot messier from France especially than I thought. So let's get into the game, and it starts off with an amazing Welsh national anthem. Of course, just sets the tone for the game. Some decent Welsh defence all the way through. I thought they, lined up pretty well, but France's power does tell. Dupont spots a little hole, gets an offload, and that's enough for an early penalty, so they go in the lead. But then some silly obstruction from France gives them 3 points straight back, and France did plenty of silly things when they were in decent positions for sure. Now early on, Wales' tactic with its kicking and the box kicking was to kick long and not into touch. Now, after a while, they realised they were having some real joy disrupting that French line out and then did kick to touch. So I like that tactical change there. That was impressive. The French scrum started off pretty good, but I think Wales came back into it and evened out there. So actually, overall in the set piece, Wales are going to be pretty content, to be honest. But then we get a try. What a try it is, actually. France were good in this first 20 minutes. It's one of their unstoppable attacks, really. Jaminet does very well. I mean, Jaminet's a fascinating player. He does so many things great, and then so many things pretty rubbish as well. So I just don't know where I sit on him. But anyway, this time he burns 2 or 3 Welsh defenders in the line, gets an outside break, feeds Villiers, and then eventually it's a simple run-in for Gelanche after a number of phases. It was one of those really good French tries where you think, wow, they could cut loose here. So it's 3-10 very quickly, 6 minutes in. Amazing start for France for sure. And France, one of their tactics was just to hammer the ball long. I think they think Wales can't punish them so much on the counter-attack, but actually as the game went on, Wales were winning the kicking battle when it was France who were making a lot of the mistakes under the high ball and the long kicks. Anyway, a bit too easy for Dupont and Villiers to beat the Welsh defence. Again, the Welsh, at the beginning here, their defence was looking a little pedestrian when France really got going, and there were definitely danger signs there. But one of the stars of the show, Taulupe Faletau, just amazing athleticism to chase and win a penalty to get an easy 3 points, keeping Wales in touch, and that's what they did in this first half, just kept in touch. So 6-10 there. I mean, France are looking the best side at this point for sure, but like I said, Wales just keeping themselves in it. And what I like about France when they play well is they show they can play in a number of ways. They can move the ball wide, they can do great set-piece stuff with their backs, and they can stick it up their jumper and make some easy yards. And they did this on 18 minutes, showing they have plan A, B and C, to run, to stick it up the jumper, to kick. They do have it. They didn't put it together for a full 80 this game, that is for sure. But that's why I think they are a very, very dangerous side. Anyway, as I write this point actually about the line out I mentioned there, they do actually go and change and start kicking it out and get some really good change off the line out, giving Woki especially a really hard time, making them think about where they're going to throw. And lots of costly errors from France start creeping in now as Wales start putting them under pressure, concede territory, and France really have stopped that momentum now. 25 minutes in, and this is kind of the last of France's big momentum. Certainly Cuthbert's really doing well, and they launch him a couple of times off a scrum at Villiers. Maybe they think he can make some good ground off him, and he can. Faletau's on a bit of a one-man mission, so I've singled out those two especially. Very impressive stuff. Early on, they had to change Thomas Williams for Hardy, which you don't want to do that early on. And Hardy actually starts off not that great, makes a few errors, but to be fair to him, does come back into the game later on. And it's stop-start. Wales have now got it into that bun fight they wanted, making it really messy, and they're absolutely in this game. Now, a couple of impressive things just before the end of half-time. Dupont hands off Navidi, goes on a bit of a run. That's impressive. Bigger hits a monster 50-22, about 60 metres there. They win an easy 3 points off that, so that's nicely done by Bigger. So that's 9-10, and that's how it stays at half-time. Not a beautiful game, but exactly where Wales want it. And indeed, in the second half, Wales are a bit on top here. The game stays messy for France, so they are absolutely in this. Wales start the half with a good attacking shape. But the story of the second half for Wales is running attack is they just can't get anywhere. The likes of Willemse, Gelange, they're smashing the Welsh back, and they lose metres. They're often losing metres, which isn't good. And France get back to a bit more of a gain line attack and make the easy yards, win a penalty and move ahead 9 points to 13. And who would know on 43 minutes that's how it's going to stay. Villiers was pretty good in that build-up, but certainly the difference in attack was noticeable with Wales going backwards, and when France did get it together, they went forwards. Pretty simple stuff when you put it like that, I guess. Anyway, Bigger still punts like a dream. Massive 45-metre penalty kick to touch. They have another good chance, a 5-metre line out, but it's top work from France. Splinter them all, hold it up, and they did stay nice and disciplined in defence when they were under the pump. It's just when it was open play, they were pretty messy. And Wales had good possession, they just can't convert, and like I said, especially because they can't get go forward off their phase attack. Couple of other notes here. Intermac not having a great game, not really the class we expect, some poor kicks as well, and France very guilty of, at this stage, shoveling the rubbish, shall we say. When they're not going anywhere, they're either throwing away offloads or they're kicking poorly. So at this point I said, well, next score is crucial. There's only 4 points in it. Wales get more good attack, a couple of good attacks from 57 to 62 minutes, but they lose ground again with that big French defence. But the French discipline is so poor, they're giving the ball back to Wales. And then a big chance. It's a cross kick to Talupe Faletau, their star man, takes it brilliantly, feeds inside to Davis, and there's no reason he should drop it, but he does. What a massive error. I think he would have scored. Huge let-off for France. Good jackal from Aldrit a bit later, and they relieve the pressure, but some big chances there for sure. Kind of sums up where Jonathan Davis is at the moment. He's been a great player for Wales, but just not the force he was. That was a bit of a poor one there. Head in hands for Wales. I think that really was their big chance. Now, with about 12 minutes to go, Lewis Rees-Zammit comes on, which is a good call, has some good impacts. France go for another drop goal. They went for a couple. They're kind of panicking a bit, I think, here. But that one squeaks past the post. They really could have put the game to bed there, but they're not looking very fluid at all. Wales are getting plenty of ball, but they're just not making that ground again. It's absolutely killing them. Impressive defence from France. Sean Edwards, very pleased with some of that defence for sure. Some good turnovers as well. Cuthbert continues to work hard in attack and defence. I mean, a man transformed from some of his early career for Wales, where he was a bit of a liability, to be honest. Much better than Adams in this Six Nations, which is saying something because he has been very good for Wales in the past. 10 minutes to go, I just made a note that France just seem desperate to lose this game, but they're holding on. That defence is keeping them in it. Wales have one more really great chance, a scrum on the 22 as the clock ticks down. They take Dupont off. They're starting to panic. His replacement, Luku, really didn't do much better, to be honest. But they're hanging on in there, and it's an Intermac interception that actually keeps them in the game. They're literally holding on by their fingertips. 5 minutes to go. France have some good possession. They just need to wind the clock down. But again, a terrible kick. I think it's from Luku. Gives it away. But the more big defence gets them a penalty, gets them out of trouble. Wales have to run the length of the pitch and just can't do it. It's just too much. Another good turnover from Malvaca, who was a good substitution actually. Wins the game. The Grand Slam's still on. 9-13. Super messy. Like I said, France, it's all about the result. They won't be happy with that performance. They're going to have to think about what they do in those pressure situations, because there was some really silly stuff there as well. Wales just need a bit more firepower. Individually, it's not quite there. Like I said, some big performances. I thought Biggar was good, Faletau was good, Cuthbert was good, but just not quite enough punch when you come up against such a ferocious defence. But I think the crowd will be pleased. It was a great effort and a great occasion. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think of that game, and I'll catch you next time.